Your daily fix of women's mixed martial arts from the UFC, Invicta FC, Bellator, and one championship. Be in the loop, cause Golden State Media Concepts got you covered. Get your fix on women's MMA. We've got you covered on Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Women's MMA Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Arnel Del Leon, and hopefully your day is going well. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whether you live in the States or internationally, I hope your day is going quite swell. And so my day has been going quite swell lately here. LA County is going through a closing process again. It always seems like whenever you look at the news, things are getting better in terms of like the status of like certain countries or certain states or certain counties and cities in America. And then it turns out that like, no, things are not going well. And so we have NHL, NFL, NBA. The NBA is making a comeback, and the NBA is going to be making a comeback with crowds. Now, obviously not a big crowd, but it's expected that during the NBA season, the start of the NBA season, we're going to have some people going into these actual shows. Like, we got some fans there. There are tickets being sold. And I'm like, wow, so can we or can we not have live audience and sporting events? And I'm saying this as I know that one championship, they have some people in their live events. In Singapore, I think it was a month ago. So it was a month ago where we had a fighter who was from Singapore. The event took place in Singapore, and there was a proper like heel versus face dynamic that was happening between these two fighters. We had one fighter who was booed by the crowd. We got one fighter who was native to Singapore, and the actual crowd were like cheering, singing, booing. They're making their voices heard. And I was watching that show. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what having an audience feels like. And then right afterwards, I finished watching that one championship event. I then went over and saw a Bellator show. I forgot what exact Bellator show it was, but it was some point like last month. And in that show, there was no audience. There was no audience. It bewilders the heck out of me that that's still a thing. But I expect 2021 for there to be an audience. It's being reported out there that we're having a vaccine that's being distributed. But it's like in testing alpha phase of distribution. So we're still unsure of what exactly is the future here. But let me go discuss women's mixed martial arts. Sadly, there have been negative news as it pertains to women's mixed martial arts. And I'm mostly talking about that this upcoming Thursday, at the time of this recording, for this upcoming Thursday, which is supposed to take place on December 17, their main event got scrapped. So main event got scrapped, to which we have the challenger being hospitalized and the champion Kayla Harrison just being unavailable to go fight. Not necessarily big, but big in the sense like we just had the last UFC pay-per-view event that happened this past weekend. So this past weekend was UFC 256, which was headlined by Davison Figueiredo versus Moreno. And in the card there, it was a fun card from top to bottom. Probably the best fight action I've seen in my entire life. Charles Oliveira finally becoming the fighter that I truly believed he was definitely good at to be. We saw JDS against Sergio Gans. Kevin Holland versus Jacare Souza. Kevin Holland is going to be one of those fighters that you will either love or you will hate. And later in today's podcast, I will be talking about the opening fight, which was between Mackenzie Dern and Virna Jandiroba. That was a fight that was incredibly close in terms of I have no clue who would win in that fight. And because I love both girls. Both girls are insanely good fighters, very underrated and underappreciated by the MMA community. And when you have these two favorites of mine going at it, you kind of have to pick a side. Like, oh man, who do I really want to go and like win this fight? But before I get to that fight, though, first off, I enjoy doing these all the time, and also one thing I recognize doing this podcast is the fact that I just have a lot more to talk about, and I'm more natural in my beliefs and my viewpoints and opinions of certain fights in the moment. Because usually after I watch a fight, I think about for a day, I simmer around the day, be like, okay, So, was that fight really good? Was the fight really bad? Was it the fighter's fault? Was it the corner crew's fault? How was the training? And for today's opening for the podcast here, I'll be discussing the opening fight of UFC 56, which happened in the prelims. And that was TC Torres versus Sam Hughes. I'll be doing a live reaction for this fight here between these two females. I find it very interesting that a woman's fight is the opening bout for both the prelims and for the main show here. But if you want to go and, be able to freely react with me in this fight between TC Torres and Sam Hughes, feel free to do so. The event is UFC 256, and it is in the prelims. So you can probably find this fight somewhere online. And I'll tell you the timestamp as to when this fight is going to go and happen. But I'm really hyped about this one because TC Torres is one of those fighters who is very undermined. She's very undermined that she's like a journeyman at this point in her career, even though she's good enough to compete within the top 10, but she ain't good enough to compete within the top 5 of the women's strawweight division. And the women's strawweight division is incredibly deep. The women's strawweight division, I always say this, is my favorite division among all of the classes in UFC. It's my favorites. I've been asking for an amateur division for the longest time. There have been reports going on, I'm not saying reports, but Dana White himself has said that he is open, and he did try to go for an anime division, but like the anime division, that idea kind of got scrapped off the basis of COVID happening. I'm pretty sure that if there wasn't going to be COVID happening this year, we might have seen the anime division be implemented this time, like around December. I really believe so. But TC Torres with Sam Hughes here. Sam Hughes is one of those fighters who's deceptively good, even though you probably don't know her. And going to this fight, though, you would think that TC Torres would be seen as a stepping stone against someone like Sam Hughes here. But TC Torres, she's really tough. She's very underrated and very underappreciated during her time as a fighter. She's kind of fallen off this past 2 years. It's like she's legitimate, and she's kind of a gatekeeper role for prospects coming in the strawweight division. That's where she is right now, currently. Okay, so as I'm right now seeing the entrances right now, and TC Torres, for those who don't know, she's tied third most in wins in UFC strawweight history, fifth most fight time in UFC strawweight history, and she had notable wins against Michelle Waterson, Rose Namajunas, and Angela Hill. 3 really darn good fighters here. The problem though with TC Torres is that she has a tendency of just like not being able to pull off a consistent set of wins or victories. She's in the same boat as like Donald Cerrone, where if you look at Donald Cerrone's like record, you're like, oh my goodness, you've had like really good showcase fights against X and Y here, but you just can't string enough victories, and he is like just always outside the top 5, borderline stuck between 6 to 10, and he is currently at the precipice right now of just being outside the top 10 right now. And the same thing also applies for TC Torres. Like, if you look at, you defeated Rose Namajunas, you defeated Angela Hill, and Angela Hill has to be, I say, one of the most toughest, most like ballsy strikers in the entire strike division. So yeah, TC Torres, she's very underappreciated, and I expect good things from this fight here. So TC Torres, she's coming into the fight as the number 10th ranked fighter. She is 4 inches shorter, and she's also 3.5 inches. She's 3.5 inches less arm reach than Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes coming in 5'5", with 64 reach advantage. Compared to TC Torres, who's 5'1" with a 60.5 reach advantage. I know this is out of nowhere here, but like I had a strange dream this past night where, like, for some reason I thought to myself, okay, let's say you could time travel back. What would you do? And immediately what I did, I thought in my own head was like, okay, I'm going to travel back in time and I'll make like a bet or a gamble for the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey fights. Like, let's be perfectly honest here. If you have the ability to time travel, you would obviously try to make yourself rich. And one thing I would do was that I would try to invest all my money that I had. Or actually, no, I would go work like 2 or 3 jobs, work like a crazy person, working like 60, 70 hours a week. And I'm like, it's all going to be worth it. It's all going to be worth it. Now put it like in this one bank. And then I'm going to bet my entire bank on the home Ronda Rousey fight. And I end up making bank. I read a report somewhere that somebody ended up betting $2,000 on that fight for Holly Holm to win. And then he ended up... No, it was 2,000? 20,000, okay. So he bet $20,000, and then he got a take-home pay of $250,000. Insane. That guy became rich very quick, very fast. Okay. But yeah, if I could time travel back, I would definitely do it. So the fight just started now. I'm at the 4-minute and 52-second mark of the fight here between Tecia Torres and Sam Hughes. Feel free to follow me. Try to find the fight online through legal measures, if possible. That'd be really nice here. So with Sam Hughes... whenever you have the reach advantage against the opposing fighter, I always believe that you should always have a more wider base in your striking, and you should be less closed in your boxing stance here. And I'm seeing right now, dude, Sam Hughes is not doing that. Tecia Torres is just demolishing Sam Hughes here with perfect combinations here. Wow. And then Sam Hughes here, she right now got the clinch. Other Tecia Torres, good on her for that, because Sam Hughes, we're only 60 seconds into this fight here, and Sam Hughes pretty much got rocked already. Wow. But Sam Hughes here, she is the bigger fighter, and considering that it's that height and size advantage, she should be able to go out muscle and outpower Tecia Torres here. And so Sam Hughes is doing a really good job here, pressuring onto Tecia Torres here, and Tecia Torres is trying to walk sideways, use the cage to help her out, but Sam Hughes is just pressuring her forward. And then Tecia Torres was able to reverse out, and now she's the one who pressed up Sam Hughes onto the cage. One thing I talked about during the last podcast I did, or I was discussing UFC 256. I always say that whenever a fighter is in the defensive end, there's nothing wrong, just like swinging for the fences from the bottom position or in a weaker position from grappling. I understand the idea behind, because in the scenario here between Hughes and Torres here, it's like Sam Hughes, she got her back onto the cage, but she really didn't do much to defend herself even after Torres was able to, I don't know. I would like to see a lot more activity and a lot more action instead of just and way less hand-holding when it comes to grappling exchanges here. I think too many jiu-jitsu fighters are way too reliant or just too used to the idea of no striking happening in the middle of jiu-jitsu training. Oh my goodness, Tecia Torres with the Superman punch! Wow. But yeah, Tecia Torres, she is lighting up Sam Hughes here, and Sam Hughes, despite her significant 4-inch reach advantage in both the height and the arm reach, she's not really making the most out of it, though. And Tecia Torres is doing that thing that I really wish more fighters did, in the sense that they're perfectly fun. Because whenever Tecia Torres is coming in, whether it be attempting a sprint punch or her blitzing in, going for a 3-punch combination, she is getting hit by one singular jab. And I think a lot of fighters have to recognize, even if they're fighting a really good striker, is that it is impossible not to be advantageous at some point in a fight without taking a risk. And I love what Tecia Torres is doing here, and that she's openly willing to take the risk here in order to get a strike. For instance, right now, so Sam Hughes went for a right overhand, but Tecia Torres ducked down and then went for a quick 2-punch combination here. She won in that exchange. And if you can give out enough damage onto Sam Hughes, that damage is going to be overwhelming for her, and you should be stunned, which will open up more opportunities for you to go for the big knockout blow or significant strikes. Torres goes for a left and right, then into a right leg kick here. Okay, so I'm looking at it now. Hughes' posture is closing up more and more, and if you're posturing up, then that means you're not able, because fighters who typically posture who tighten up in their form, in their fighting posture, usually are fighters who are not adept at fighting outside the pockets. And for me, that's an easy tell. If there's a fighter who's really tight, really tight in their fighting posture, then you can pretty much poke them for the most part of the entire fight. You can. All you gotta do is avoid the counterpunch here. But if you're like Tecia Torres here, who knows that she's a superior striker here, there's nothing wrong for Tecia Torres going and taking the risk here. So Sam Hughes does grab the right leg. Oh, but TC Torres just throws Sam Hughes to the ground here, going for 3 straight right overhands. Dang. Goes for a head kick, but Sam Hughes is able to go and block it. Superman punch yet again. Flying right knee, right overhand. Another right overhand here. Shoots in for a double takedown to a spine buster. Sam Hughes tries to go and locks in a choke from bottom position, but she doesn't get it. And so I have to go to a quick short commercial break here. Coming back after the break, we'll be continuing to round 2 of UFC 56 prelims here between TC Torres and Sam Hughes. See you soon.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info. Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back. I'm discussing UFC 56. It was the first opening bout of the night, which is between TC Torres and Sam Hughes. TC Torres lit her up. TC Torres lit up Sam Hughes pretty easily there. I don't know what exactly Sam Hughes should do in terms of adjusting herself, other than I say she really should go take advantage of her reach. She has a 4-inch reach advantage in terms of height, 4-inch reach advantage in terms of arm length, so she should be able, in theory, to go and pick apart TC Torres through longer strikes, and I think that is what Sam Hughes was doing. She didn't throw enough leg kicks. She didn't throw enough push kicks. And there are multiple instances in this fight here where TC Torres was going in for these wild Superman punches. And TC Torres just does not respect the range and the striking ability of Sam Hughes. If Sam Hughes can throw enough flurry of strikes and stun her just a wee bit, there's a real possibility we might... Oh. And actually the fight ends up being called off. So it turns out that Sam Hughes accumulated too much damage, and she wouldn't be able to go see off the left eye. So, Sam Hughes, she wasn't able to go see off the left eye, which means, off technicality, TC Torres ended up defeating her opponent via TKO. Did he win via TKO? Alright then, so TC Torres technically defeated Sam Hughes via TKO. That is strange. I have never seen a fight go off like that, because here's the thing. Going to that second round here, if you look at the corner crew, everything looks perfectly normal. Fine. And I'm surprised that the fight ended up being called off here. Joe Rogan seems super confused about it. He's like, what the heck, really? This fight's getting called off? But sadly, the fight got called off, and I wanted the fight to continue. I think Sam Hughes could have potentially made some adjustments in that fight that could have helped her go a long way. And who knows, maybe she could have a comeback. She could have had a comeback, but congratulations for TC Torres. And so what is next in the rankings here for TC Torres here? Okay, so I'm looking at the women's strikeout rankings here. So right now, there doesn't seem to be that much action happening within the rankings of the women's strikeout division. We have Marina Rodriguez fighting against Amanda Ribas. Their fight will be coming up on January 23rd. That fight is going to be absolutely spectacular. Whoever loses this fight, I can guarantee you, is still going to find some way to get into the top 10 of the rankings. Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Ribas are two fighters who are so equally matched. I do not know who would win in their upcoming bouts. But what is next for Tisa Torres here? It would make sense for Tisa Torres to fight against Marina Rodriguez because Tisa Torres' last fight to which she ended up losing was against Rodriguez. But she's pretty much busy right now. Claudia Cadella versus Tisa Torres. That's another matchup that can happen right now. Look in the top 5 rankings here. Which, but it's so weird doing that. Carla Esparza is ranked number 4. Wow! She made it! She made it. And you know what's very puzzling about this? Is the fact that she defeated Marina Rodriguez, and then after defeating Marina Rodriguez, she was then scheduled to fight against somebody who was outside the top 10. So she went from fighting against Michelle Waterson, who was just one rank ahead of her. Then she challenged Claudia Cadella. That fight fell apart. She then fought Marina Rodriguez in a very sloppy fight. And then afterwards, Carla Esparza was then matched against somebody who was nowhere near the rankings. Like, if Carla Esparza defeated this one girl, I forgot the name of her, but if she defeated this one girl, Carla Esparza had nothing to gain from it. And so now, looking back in the Strawweight rankings here, so in that fight where she was fighting against an unranked girl, that fight ended up getting scrapped. And Carla Esparza ended up deciding, you know what, I'm not going to go fight this fight. She's pulling out for undisclosed reasons. But Carla Esparza, she's now within the top 4 of the rankings. Congratulations, good for her. Next matchup, I can guarantee you, Yonshinan versus Carla Esparza. That is a must-win for both fighters. In that it's a win that's definitely in favor of Yon, in the sense that Yon is expected to win the fight. Now, I believe this fight can go either way. I really do believe that Yonshinan can defeat Carla Esparza, and I believe Carla Esparza can defeat Yon. But this definitely is a fight that both fighters really do need. If and when these two women end up fighting each other, then that means they're only one win away. Yeah, they're only about one win away, and they got a title fight. So it's not scheduled or booked yet when those two will fight. But right now, it's there's only one fight that we know for sure is happening in the women's Strawweight rankings: Ribas and Marina Rodriguez. Other than that, though, everything's still tossed up in the air. And so I think also Michelle Waterson, she was booked to fight against someone else, but then she had to go pull out for undisclosed reasons. And then we have Tisa Torres here. So we can have Tisa Torres against Claudia Cadella. That could happen. I think that's a great fight for Torres. Torres can defeat Claudia. Claudia, she's currently in a weird state right now in the division where she's kind of seen as a gatekeeper. I believe so. Both Claudia Cadella and Carla Esparza are both seen as gatekeepers, but unlike Claudia, Carla Esparza was able to win her last bout. So good on her for that. Tisa Torres against Claudia Cadella makes the most sense here. We can see Tisa Torres against Michelle Waterson. They're currently ranked number 8 and number 9 right now in the division. We have Brianna Van Buren. She's coming off a loss right now, and there's no reason for Tisa Torres to go defeat Brianna since Brianna just lost to Tisa Torres. Angela Hill. Very likely we're going to see Brianna Van Buren against Michelle Waterson. That's another one else happening here. And by the way, where's Loma Lookboonmee? Where is she? She had a really strong performance against Jin Yu Frey, and then she disappeared on this earth. Not sure where she is, but I kind of miss her. And so the next fight here I'll be discussing is between two of my personal favorites in Virna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern here. I'll be doing a live reaction of the fight. If you are able to go and have access to this fight, you can go watch it online. You can go, maybe you ordered it. Feel free to go follow me in this live reaction here. This is a fight that I was incredibly excited about, and I expect big things coming in from both Dern and Virna Jandiroba. Feel free to go follow me. Find the fight online in some way through legal matters. Legally. Alright then? And here we go. So, Virna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern, they're two of the fighters who are outside the top 10 they're like just outside of it, and I genuinely believe this. I believe Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern are two fighters who are good enough to be able to have incredibly competitive bouts against fighters who are even in the top 5. I genuinely believe that. And if you look at the tail of the tape here, both Virna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern have pretty much like the same stats, like same height, same reach. And when it comes to the betting odds for both these fighters here, it is incredibly close. We have plus 160 and minus 160. I would say it'd be like, plus 125 or 150. I think it is that close of a bout between these two fighters here. I do not know who would actually win this. But these are two fighters who, in the strawweight division, I'm telling you now, the strawweight division has been my favorite division to watch in the entire UFC. Just because if you go down from like 1 through 10, or even like 1 through 14 or 15, there's a lot of tough competition there, and people who are outside that top 10, top 15, people like Loma Lukbumi, and at one point Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Ribas this time last year. Those fighters are really darn good, and those two fighters in Amanda Ribas and Amanda Ribas and Marina Rodriguez, those fighters are both currently right now in the top 10. So the fight just started right now. I am currently at the 4-minute and 55-second mark of Mackenzie Dern versus Jandiroba. So Jandiroba is ranked number 13, while Mackenzie Dern is ranked number 11. Mackenzie Dern I put in the same boat as both Ribas and Marina Rodriguez, as two fighters who I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future, I say maybe a year and a half, 2 years from now, we might see Dern, Ribas, and Marina Rodriguez take up 3 spaces in the top 5. And one of the interesting points about Dern versus Virna Jandiroba in this fight here is that Mackenzie Dern might probably be one of the only fighters to which who will be perfectly fine, willing to go trade shots against Virna Jandiroba. Because in every fight that Jandiroba has been in, it's always her unleashing this insanely high pace and high volume of strikes, her being the aggressor and dictating the pace of the fights. And now, in this instance here, where she's fighting against Mackenzie Dern, Dern is the one who's actually like pressing forward the action here. Yeah, Dern's the one pressing the action, and she's perfectly fine trading shots against Jandiroba, which is something Jandiroba is not used to. And we're seeing instances here where Jandiroba is the one like fighting defensively, and she's moving at a horizontal plane. She's moving at a horizontal plane, and she's, for the most part, trying to avoid trading shots against Jandiroba. Jandiroba is becoming the counterpunch here, while Dern is the one who's like trying to dictate the pace of the fight. Oh snap! Good right overhand there. So Jandiroba comes in for a right two-hand jab combination, and then Lisa Dern coming in for a right overhand herself. And Dern is one of those fighters who is what I love about Dern is that she is representative of the type of fighter that many people want to see. Like, she's that fighter who is perfectly 100% fine getting damaged, kind of like just Gaethje, where it's like he's fine getting damaged if it means him trying to go find the opening. And one problem that you see, especially amongst the journeyman fighters in the UFC, no matter what division you're in, and oh my gosh, Mo! Dern going in for some combinations here. Dang, her striking accuracy is insane. But one thing Mackenzie Dern is really darn good at, and one thing I like about her, is like kind of like just Gaethje, in the sense that she is fine trading shots if it means for herself trying to go find openings, and she's not overly reckless, and her striking output and high volume and accuracy is so darn good that she has enough confidence in herself to be able to, like, okay, I can take these punches, and I know where I can go find the angles here, and I can go take apart my opponents in the 50-50 exchanges. That has been Jandiroba and Dern for the most part in their UFC run, but more so on Dern. So yeah, so Virna Jandiroba, she's... Oh man, Mackenzie Dern throwing in some... Oh my gosh, she is going at an unrelenting pace right now. Now shooting in for a single leg takedown. Not working. Yeah, Virna Jandiroba, she's outside of her element. Usually it's her who's the one who's trying to dictate the pace of the fight, pressing forward and pressuring her opponent onto the cage. But now we're seeing Dern do that on Jandiroba at this point here. And Dern here has a very underrated grappling game. She's not the best grappler in the world here. She's definitely not no Carla Esparza. But it's good enough for it to be a legitimate thing that you got to go watch out for. Like, her all-around MMA game is really on point. Meanwhile, Jandiroba, who also has like a strong jiu-jitsu game, she's more of a boxer first, more so than anything else. Right, good knee there by Jandiroba. I would like to see a lot more action by Dern pressing. Oh, there it is. Awesome. So during the entire sequence where she was holding on her opponent on the cage, she pulled off one left forearm shot. One thing I like to see among fighters is them pressing it forward onto the cage and then like throwing in some more dirty boxing. I understand that like they want to go and shoot for the takedown or try to grapple their opponents. And oh man, big left kick there by Virna Jandiroba. I understand a lot of people want to go and grab their opponent onto the cage and then wear them out and then press them and like try to hit some knees or try to take them to the ground. I get it. Because if you take them to the ground and they're onto the cage, that's a great advantage for you. But I want to see a little bit more dirty boxing. Dern laid one strong left forearm there, but in the entire exchange, she really didn't do much. But Jandiroba was able to land another leg kick, and Dern just eats it for breakfast. So the fight right now is currently slowing down. I'm at the 18-second mark of the fight here. Jandiroba is throwing out these insane overhands. Dern is doing a good job here trying to like not overcommit to any strikes, while at the same time being very accurate. And both these women are just throwing out these hard, large right overhands here. Very scrappy battle here. And then that is the end of round one. Wow, that was a proper scrap out between these two. We got two fighters who are used to scrapping with one another. And it's a very back and forth action here, very even. I say Mackenzie Dern won for the first round off the basis of striking accuracy and a higher volume of strikes. Like, who, for the most part, was winning in the stand-up in the first round? I say Mackenzie Dern here. But within the final 1 minute of the first round, Virna Jandiroba was actually landing some really good shots, and she was feeling her out. And I say Virna Jandiroba had a better final minutes. So there's more momentum carrying over to Virna Jandiroba going to the second round, but in totality, I say Mackenzie Dern won the first round. And so, coming back after the short break here, I'll go continue to round two of Virna Jandiroba versus Mackenzie Dern.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Alright then, let's go continue to round two of UFC 56 opening bouts between Mackenzie Dern and Virna Jandiroba. Both fighters are at the center of the cage here. Feel free to go follow. And oh my goodness, once again, a high volume of Dern here. She is not feeling out her opponent, dude. She's just going to go press forward, and she's going to dictate the action of the fight here. Yeah, so Phil Murphy says that Dern is starting to brawl. Yeah, she's starting to brawl against somebody who also enjoys brawling. I'm at the 4 minute and 30-second mark of the second round of this fight here. Once again, feel free to follow here. Virna Jandiroba rocked Mackenzie Dern with a good left hand, which has slowed down Dern. Oh, but a good right hand by Dern. Yeah, right now, I still believe that going to the second round is Jandiroba's momentum being carried over. Now, I do believe that Virna Jandiroba here should be a lot more reckless in her striking. It's because Dern, she's perfectly fine, able to, like, just run in there and do some damage in order to lay in the combination. I think for Jandiroba here, where she's being overcommitted to the counter-strike aspect of the game here, And also, I would love to see her throw some more leg kicks. She's throwing in some body punches. She's not throwing in any leg. She's throwing head kicks. She's throwing more head kicks than she did any body kicks or leg kicks for some reason. And I'm like, I think it'd be good for Jandiroba if she can go provide a more variety of strikes onto Dern. Oh, snap! So Dern does throw a leg kick, but then Virna Jandiroba does get a knockdown with the right overhand. Dang! So one knockdown there by Virna Jandiroba. But now Mackenzie Dern is trying to come back here. Dern does get rocked a wee bit with the right overhand, and then she gets 2 elbows to the body. Another elbow! Oh, no, another elbow. Another knee. 3 consecutive knee strikes onto Dern's body here. Dern isn't doing well for herself right now in this stretch here. Another knee yet again. So Virna Jandiroba is pressing forward the action, and she has Dern onto the cage, grappling with her now. Another knee, dang, another knee, then a right. So yeah, in the second round here, I agree with Daniel Cormier's assessment here, and that Jandiroba was having a better second round. That final 1 minute to which Virna was winning and landing some clean strikes really does matter here. Oh man, right elbow, another right elbow. And now leg kick, good job for Virna. Oh, but a strong right uppercut, though, by Mackenzie Dern. And a strong left hand. A right overhand here. Okay, Mackenzie Dern here, she's feeling her out. And then we have an eye poke stoppage here. Yikes. So we have an eye poke on Virna Jandiroba. They ain't good. So right now, the action right now has been stopped. Yeah, there was eye poke coming in from Dern's left hand. And Virna Jandiroba has 5 minutes to go recover. Yeah, Jandiroba's taking her time here. I still don't know why the UFC aren't trying to do anything to stop with these eye pokes here. It feels like, I don't think, has there ever been a single, ever, UFC show, whether it be a pay-per-view, or a Fight Night event, or on ESPN, that did not have an eye poke. None. Like, I think I saw an MMA On Point video about this, where they said that it doesn't seem like there is any intuition or assertiveness from the UFC's part to go do anything with the eye pokes. And I remember someone from a post-fight presser asked Dana White, hey, are you going to do anything with the eye pokes? And Dana White's response was pretty much, you know what? It is what it is. Like, the fighters know the rules. Referee is going to do their job to go and make sure things are stable. And it is how it is. Like, eye poking is in the same boat to me as judges, in the sense that no one is really doing anything about it. And it's super upsetting. I don't get why that is. I don't get why it's just accepted. And wow, the right eye of Jandiroba is swole, which might play a part into this fight here. And I find it interesting that Daniel Cormier is the one who's doing commentary, since he had a bad eye poke with his fight against Stipe Miocic, and Mackenzie Dern is able to get a single leg, but then Jandiroba gets up. But yeah, that's really bad. Because right after the eye poke and the two fighters start to sell it in the middle of the octagon here, Mackenzie Dern is landing in some very clean strikes. And now we do have a broken nose. Yeah, on the bridge of the nose, we have a lot of blood coming in from Dern here. She probably has a broken nose here. And then Jandiroba was able to reverse out and is able to get a slam in on Dern. Yeah, so right now the blood is going on to her right eye. Yeah, that nose is busted up by Dern here. I'm not really that aware of Mackenzie Dern's defensive wrestling ability here. It's mostly of a sense where she tries to dictate the pace so often that you don't really see her on the defensive end ever from a takedown. So it's interesting to see how well she'll do herself against somebody who is good in jiu-jitsu, like Virna is. So one thing I want to see, so Virna right now, she's not really doing anything on top. More so that she's putting her weight on top of her and just like gassing her out. It is making it uncomfortable for her. I'm thinking she's going to press her down onto the ground until the little bell rings here, so that she can go and have more time to recover from the eye poke here. I like to see a lot more forearms, a lot more elbow strikes coming from top position here. Oh, good job by Dern. She's trying to go for an armbar, but Virna Jandiroba gets out of it though. Virna Jandiroba needs to be a lot more aggressive here. She has to go press forward here and throw in some, like, vicious ground and pound here to make her opponent uncomfortable. Oh, she's finally doing it. No, just like 3 straight strikes. Dern's defending herself. She's threatening with an up kick here. But Jandiroba, she's not budging here. She should throw out more strikes from top. She ain't doing so, and that's it. So that is the end of the second round. So second round goes for Virna Jandiroba for me. I gotta look at the fight stats for that and see who actually won that, but the way how I see it right now, based on going off the eye test, she landed a lot more better strikes in the sense of, especially in the clinches. Her clinching was the one that won the fight, and although Mackenzie Dern, she won in the basic stand-ups in the 50-50 exchanges when they're in the center of the octagon, there was a whole lot of clinching happening, and in all the clinching that happened, Virna Jandiroba was winning. She was laying in some constant strikes over and over again, laying in some good... Oh! Not necessarily a kick. So Jandiroba attempted a body kick, which ended up being actually a knee to the nose of Dern, and then which led to Dern getting the takedown in, which led to Virna Jandiroba reversing and getting a takedown in herself. So Jandiroba won second round off the basis that she got the takedown, and yeah, she got the takedown by the end of the fight. She had pretty good control, and she laid some really good knee strikes, and the striking volume of Dern wasn't as much in the first round. So Jandiroba won the second. And we're now in the third round here. We're in the 4 minute and 45 second mark of the fight. Mackenzie Dern goes in for a spinning back elbow, but Jandiroba's countering back with 2 straight strikes. So third round is anyone's game right now. Yeah, this is very close right now, how I'm looking at it. Oh, snap! Dern goes in for a single leg, but Jandiroba was able to stuff it right now. Oh, nice elbow there from Virna Jandiroba. Alright, so Dern is not able to go get the takedown in, but now Virna Jandiroba, she reverses the momentum, and now Virna Jandiroba is pressing Dern onto the cage. We're back to clinching right now. That's not where Dern wants to be. She is able to get out. Oh, nice 2-strike combination there by Virna. Dern hits a good right overhand, but then we have Jandiroba. Oh, damn! Catches her, goes for clinch, and as they're separating, hits a left high leg kick. Alright, good body kick there by Dern. Another good body kick here. I think Dern has to go mix up with the strikes here in this final 3 minutes. If she's able to go do that, actually, she might be able to disorient and find openings onto Virna. Virna hits another good right overhand. A good left hand by Virna. So right now, the accuracy of Dern is being... The inaccuracy of Dern right now is being shown here. Oh, man. Oh, snap. Another good combination there by Virna. Then we got Dern coming in for... Oh, snap. Oh, she stuns Virna Jandiroba. Goes again for a single leg takedown. I think Jandiroba needs to go throw in some forearms or elbows here. I understand that she's using her left arm to go grab onto the arm of Dern here, but I think laying in some elbows can disorient her. And there's a takedown here, but Virna Jandiroba was able to reverse out, and now Virna Jandiroba is the one who is on guard. She gets in guard position and is on top of Dern. The problem, though, in that grappling exchange in the final minutes of the first round is the fact that Jandiroba really can't really do much here on top. Mackenzie Dern now, she's just sliding in, trying to bait Virna Jandiroba in. But referee breaks them up. I don't know why Dern was baiting Jandiroba to go in. Okay. 3 straight combinations again from Virna. Dern not caring here, throwing in some vicious right hands and uppercuts. Yeah, both girls are letting it all fly here. There's like very little head movement and just like seeing, and just like they're shoving each other. They're both simultaneously like landing strikes to the head. So Mackenzie Dern wins first round. She has 23, 19, 11. That's the number of significant strikes she has. Compared to Jandiroba, that's 12, 20, and 17. A good leg kick there by Dern. So right now in the second and third round, Jandiroba just has a higher volume of significant strikes. So fight stats are definitely in her way. Virna Jandiroba lays in another good two straight combinations. Spinning back fist by Dern hits nothing but the air. Oh, nice body kick again. And that body kick actually does kind of stun Jandiroba just a wee bit. Her posture has completely shifted here from that one body kick. Another knee, another uppercut. A knee by Vern. Throwing in some forearms, elbows. Dern trying to go for that takedown again. I think she needs to stop with the takedowns here and just try to go for something that's striking. At this point, especially 30 seconds left in the fight, there's no point here. Oh man, Jandiroba goes in for an armbar. Trying to secure an armbar, and now Dern has a defensive end. Oh man, this is bad for Dern here. Okay, now we have... Okay, so the armbar wasn't able to go through. I think she's trying to go for a heel hook, but Dern's able to get on top. Lay in some two strikes. And that is the end of the third round. Wow. I expected big things coming out from these two women here. And dang, that was a proper scrap battle there. So, going back, the third round here gave to Virna Jandiroba. She landed more total strikes, and I say she landed, in the fight sets they even showed, she landed a higher volume of signal strikes, more so than Dern. Dern had a really good, she stunned Dern. I mean, Dern stunned Jandiroba twice in the bouts. But looking in the grand scheme of things here, I say, in that accumulation of 5 minutes, although I would say Dern landed more harder shots than Jandiroba, Jandiroba landed more strikes in its totality. So I gotta go for the W for Virna Jandiroba's part. I think Mackenzie Dern should have thrown in more leg kicks. And she should have not been so overly committed to go wrestle with her. Because she really didn't... Here's the thing. The moments to which Dern was able to get a takedown in, you could arguably say that it's because, Jandiroba was letting her come into her guard so she can attempt a submission. She wasn't able to do so, but... Alright, let's get a decision here. Virna Jandiroba should win this if we go by both the eye test and the fight stats. So it's still really close. Alright, Bruce Buffer now is announcing the stats. Alright, unanimous decision victory goes in favor of Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern wins the fight, defeats Virna Jandiroba by unanimous decision. I disagree with that completely. I don't think she won, but I'm not a judge. Alright, you're listening to the GSMC Women's MMA Podcast. Coming back after the short break here.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And we are back. And so, point of contention, Virna Jandiroba should have defeated Mackenzie Dern in that bout. If you look at the fight stats, even to the eye test. First round, obviously, Dern. Second and third round, it was ice to me, obviously, Virna Jandiroba. And that's not me discrediting Mackenzie Dern. It was a close bout. It was a really fun bout. It was one of the best fights of the entire night. Only problem with it, though, was that it really looked like that Virna Jandiroba should have won this fight off the basis of her performances in the second and third round. That's how I saw it. Mackenzie Dern and Virna Jandiroba, this is how good the strawweight division is for the UFC. It is so stacked that Virna Jandiroba, going to this fight, I think she was like ranked number 13 or 15, and knowing how good she is, and knowing that Dern is going to be cemented in the top 10 after this fight, we have a lot of tough competition outside of the top 10 who can easily make it to the top 10, that it's such a deep and stacked division that it'd be very interesting to see within just a year or two how different the division could be. Because for all we know, because we got Man Ribas and Marina Rodriguez, those two fighters, they'll be fighting next. They're the only major strawweight bouts happening that has been announced. We know Weili Zhang and Rose Namajunas, they have a bout coming up at some point, but it's not scheduled when. And so we're only sure on the Ribas and Rodriguez fight. Those are the only major fights happening, and I believe that either of those two women can become top 5 rank. I believe either of those two women can give Rose Namajunas a run for her money. I believe either of those women can potentially even defeat Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I am high on the women's strawweight division, and if you're not paying attention to them, I recommend you do. And so let's go to the news brief portion of the podcast here. Speaking of Mackenzie Dern, she believes she is ready for a title bout. No, I don't think she's ready for a title shot, but let's go see what she has to say. So, this coming from WMMA Rankings, written here by Noah. Mackenzie Dern wants 2021 UFC strawweight title shot. I showed it's dangerous to stand with me. Yeah, she is a great striker. I just think that Jandiroba won. She went on to say in a post-fight press that, I'm very happy with my 2020. I may fight for the belt at the end of 2021. That is a real possibility. Of course, I want to fight somebody ahead of me in the rankings. I'm in no rush to fight in January or February, but I'll keep on training in case I need to fight on short notice. Maybe I'll fight again in March or April. Let's see how the rankings change. Then, it's easy to see what's good for me. I think the girls in the top 10 will watch this Jandiroba fight and think that striking is the key to beat me because Jandiroba is a grappler and striking is her weakness. Actually, no. Oh, no. Jandiroba can grapple. She just prefers her striking. It was a close fight. The only thing it'll keep working on is my striking. So if they think my striking is bad, it's getting better pretty soon. They'll have a surprise. I want to be respected on the feeds. I'm very happy with my performance. I showed it's dangerous to stand with me. I have heart. It's hard to take me down, but I have no problem staying on the feet if I need to. I don't think anyone will want to fight me on the ground. So, I think Mackenzie Dern hasn't really been tested yet on the ground. And also, I believe Mackenzie Dern has been tested in the striking bout here against Virna Jandiroba, and she definitely does need to make some adjustments if she wants to go and be able to compete for a title by the end of 2021. She has a long way to go in her development, though. But she's still really young. And she can develop to become something really special. And so let's go with Jillian Robertson. She'll be fighting against Talia Santos at UFC Vegas 17. And Jillian Robertson, I can't tell if it's Jillian or Gillian, but Robertson, she desperately needs a win. She desperately needs one. That's how I see it. So she fought against, she lost to Macy Barber. She defeated Courtney Casey, got on her for that, and she defeated Poliana Botello here. But Talia Santos, without a doubt, has to be the biggest challenge of Jillian Robertson's career right now. If she can go get this victory here, she might be able to. Cause I think she's right now ranked number 13. Yeah, she's ranked right now number 13 in the women's fight rankings. The women's fight rankings right now is up in the air. We don't know what the status is of all the fighters, with the exception being of Valentina Shevchenko. We don't know what's going on there, so it's all up for grabs. And knowing that Valentina Shevchenko is pretty much the flag bearer in the standard of the women's division, and after seeing a bunch of Robertson's fights, she has a long way to go also in her development, and she's only 25 years old. She's only 25. She has a lot of room to develop. It's just whether or not she's going to defeat somebody as good of a striker as Talia Santos, I'm not really sure. That's definitely going to be a close bout here, and that's another fight similar to Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern, to which I'm not really sure who's going to win the fight. I won't be surprised if the betting odds go in favor of Talia Santos, being like maybe minus 160, at most minus 200 for her. And then we go to PFL here. Kayla Harrison, who's one of the best female fighters in the entire world here. She says she is proud to have helped start the women's 155-pound division in MMA, excited for Claressa Shields' transition to the sports. Kayla Harrison has given her thoughts on Claressa Shields' transition to MMA after signing with the PFL last month. Claressa Shields, a multiple-time reigning world boxing champion, signed with the PFL last month and is expected to make her MMA debut in 2021. Harrison has a couple things to say here. She goes to say, "I'm super excited for it," Harrison told MMA Junkie. "I'm proud for Claressa for making the transition. It's a scary thing to do, but it's such an exciting thing. I think she left her comfort zone, and the sky's the limit for her. I'm proud of the PFL for continuing to grow the division and build the women's division, and I'm proud that I helped create a division for her to go to. There was no real 155-pound division before. She's already openly stated that she can't make 145. So I think it's amazing and exciting that there are women out there who are high level athletes who now have a place to go to because of something that I did. So I'm proud of it, and I'm excited. Obviously, she's very green, very young in her career, but time will tell. And if we ever get the opportunity to fight, I know we'll do it with mutual respect, and it's going to be one hell of a show." Harrison feels, though, as her and Shields share a lot of similarities and is rooting for her as she begins her next journey in her combat sports career. "We're very similar. She came from pretty much nothing and made something of her life. We've both done that, and we know what it takes to reach the top of the mountain. And now, this is just a new mountain for her to climb to. I think that as long as she still has that fire and as long as she has the right people around her, she's going to be successful, and it's only a matter of time." Fight fans, what do you think? So, I want to see a lightweight division. It's currently right now, there is no place for a lightweight division in one. There's no place for it right now currently in Bellator. It'll take a while for there to be developments for a 155-pound division in other organizations. But good for Kayla Harrison. Really good on her for that. Kayla Harrison is really high on herself, right? Like, I started the women's division, like, pretty much. So, Ali Abdelaziz, I can never say his name correctly. Ali Abdelaziz. Ali Abdelaziz, you might know him as the manager for Khabib Nurmagomedov, signs Jermaine Duranme as a client, will negotiate her next bout in 2021. Highly acclaimed mixed martial arts manager Ali Abdelaziz has signed Jermaine Duranme as a client and will negotiate her next bout in the year 2021. So this is coming in from Brett Okamoto that he has signed Jermaine Duranme. GDR will be joining the likes of Khabib, Kamaru Usman, Henry Cejudo, and Kayla Harrison as fighters who are being managed by Ali. The 36-year-old is considered the best bantamweight fighter in the world, other than Amanda Nunes. She owns notable wins over the likes of Holly Holm, Aspen Ladd, and Raquel Pennington. I'm still waiting on the GDR rematch coming in against Nunes, but that fight's not going to happen. We have Amanda Nunes, who once again called off her last bout due to health concerns. She's going to go fight against Megan Anderson. It's scheduled to be Megan Anderson versus Nunes happening in December. That fight ended up getting scrapped, as usually how most Amanda Nunes fights happen, in the sense that whenever there's a fight announced for Amanda Nunes, you can expect that fight to not even happen till like several months later. I just normally expect that from Nunes at this point here, because she never goes into any fight without not being 100%. So we're going to see Megan Anderson versus Nunes. That bout will determine the future of the women's featherweight division, because I believe the women's featherweight division, it's going to be scrapped. It's going to be scrapped. I don't think there'll be a future for it if Megan Anderson were to lose. And I can go see just Amanda Nunes relinquish her belt. Like, relinquish her featherweight belt. Featherweight division's gone. And she mostly focuses on the bantamweight division. Because Dana White has said that he wants there to be a revitalization of the bantamweight division. And he wants to stack up that division. And so, oh wow. So Rose Namajunas is going through some complications here, as Dana White claims Rose Namajunas does not want UFC strawweight title fight against Weili Zhang. Says Carla Esparza will be next. UFC President Dana White has claimed that Rose Namajunas does not want to fight Weili Zhang for the UFC strawweight title belt. Weili Zhang, who's 21-1, last fought at the UFC 248 event in March, in which she successfully defended her belt against Joanna Jacek. 9 months later, and fans are anticipating Weili's next defense, with many presuming it'll be the next fight. The next fighter will be Rose Namajunas. During a recent chat with BT Sports, Dana White said that Namajunas does not want the title bout, and instead, Carla Esparza would be getting the next crack at Weili Zhang. So here's a quote here by Dana White. Says, "What I'm hearing is Rose does not want a title shot. Rose does not want to fight for the title. So we're looking at the rankings on how it plays out. It would play out as Weili versus former strawweight champion Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza is currently on a 4-fight win streak, and that is so interesting knowing that. Oh my gosh. So, if you've not been following Carla Esparza in the past year, it always seemed like that the UFC was always against Carla Esparza, because before Carla Esparza called off her last bouts, Carla Esparza was scheduled to fight against an unranked fighter, against a prospect, and she's been stuck fighting nothing but prospects. But because her fight against a prospect got called off due to health concerns, now we're going from Carla Esparza fighting, being a gatekeeper, being a journeyman, fighting against all these prospects, to now finally fighting for the world title. That is insane. Look, okay, so Carla Esparza, she has a good string of victories, like no doubt about that. Let me look at her past bouts here. So, she defeated Marina Rodriguez, who at the time of beating Marina Rodriguez was, I think, ranked number 10. She's currently ranked number 7 right now. And then she defeated Michelle Waterson, who at the time was like ranked number 7. And then she defeated Alexa Grasso and Virna Jandiroba, who were outside the top 10. So, it's the pathway for Carla Esparza getting the title is so off. She lost to Tatiana Suarez. She lost to Claudia Cadella. So if we see... Oh, here's the thing. Carla Esparza can definitely defeat Weili Zhang. Now, it's not going to be an exciting bout like you want to change versus Weili Zhang. I would say that Carla Esparza becoming a champion for the Strawweight division isn't going to be... It's not going to be appealing to the general casual MMA fan, because Carla Esparza's fighting style... she can fight however she wants, but it's not a fighting style where someone can be like, oh my gosh, wow, that is so exciting. But wow, we might see Carla Esparza go from gatekeeper journeyman who just can't get a title bout for her life, or get any high major important fights happening, to oh my gosh, she's now all of a sudden number one contender. So we're knowing that. And Carla Esparza can definitely beat the likes of Rose, the likes of Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the likes of Weili Zhang, the likes of Jessica Andrade. But no disrespect to her, I really want to see Rose against Weili Zhang. So Rose Namajunas, her camp apparently denies claims that made by Dana White that she does not want to go fight against Weili. The camp has denied it. Many fans have assumed that Rose Namajunas will be next to crack, and so. We got Namajunas' fiance and coach, Pat Barry, refuted the claims after being asked about them by ESPN. He goes to say that is absolutely not true. We absolutely want the title fight. Who would turn down the title fight? We just don't want to air this out publicly. If there was some confusion, they can call us to clear it up. Alright then, so I'm trying to learn here. What is going on between Rose? She should be next in line. Jessica Andrade is busy. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she's currently in the process of rehabbing and trying to so Joanna, she's vacation mode. We have vacation mode, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, chilling out on the beach, doing photo shoots, relaxing, drinking tea on the beach, relaxing at her house. That's what Joanna Jędrzejczyk is doing right now. Jessica Andrade, she's busy right now in the fight division. Rose Namajunas should fight next. Carla Esparza went from a journeyman gatekeeper to now fighting for the title, and one could argue that was originally meant for Claudia Cadella if she defeated Yonshinan, and Claudia Cadella ended up losing to Yon. I thought it would be a good matchup for Yon and Carla Esparza. That's the next one. Then Esparza should have one more bout, or maybe that would be the bout for her to get a title fight. I don't think the rankings for the women's strawweight division is so off. It's such a good division full of really good fighters here. But with Rose Namajunas potentially being unavailable to fight, it's so strange seeing Carla Esparza becoming a potential number one contender, considering what she has to go through this past year. Actually, the past 2 years. It's kind of funny to me. It really is. And so that will do it for today's podcast. You have been an awesome audience. I will definitely go follow up and see what actually is the status of the women's UFC strawweight division right now. I don't get what's going on here. I'm speculating that Rose Namajunas just wants to fight at a later date, and she doesn't want to fight against Weili Zhang immediately. That's what I'm guessing. And that could be a real possibility. It could be a real possibility that Dana White offered, or the UFC, execs offered Rose a fight on a specific date. Rose said no to that date and wants another date, which leads to complications. Alright then, so with that being said, all I gotta say is thank you. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Women's MMA Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a good night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Women's Mixed Martial Arts Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.